Jelani said, "This bird must come into my compound." The elders nodded because he was a man with land, and men with land carry louder voices. Abney received one small bowl of grain. Jelani kept the gold bead. And the next morning, when he checked the bird's nest, he found 2 more. Jelani told no one about the 2 beads right away. He was a careful man when it served him. He wrapped the beads in a piece of cloth and hid them inside his sleeping room behind a loose stone in the wall. Then he sat in his compound and thought for a long time about what kind of life a man could build with a bird that produced gold while it slept. But there was a problem. The bird would not eat. Jelani's eldest wife brought millet grain. The bird sat still. She brought water. The bird sat still. She brought palm fruit, cut into pieces. Still nothing. The bird folded its pale wings and stared at the wall of Jelani's compound with the patience of something that is all the time in the world to wait. On the second morning, with no food taken, Jelani's youngest child wandered close to the bird's cage and said without being asked, "Maybe it wants the woman." Jelani did not like the idea, but he liked the idea of the bird dying even less. He sent a boy to Abney's hut. The message was short: "Come and feed the bird." Abney came. The moment she sat near the cage, the bird turned, ruffled its feathers, and began to eat. Jelani watched this happen and said nothing, but Abney could feel what was moving behind his eyes. He did not like needing her. He did not like owing her anything. Not a thank you, not an explanation, not even a moment of acknowledgement. And so, like many men who do not like owing something to someone they believe is beneath them, he turned his debt into punishment. The next time he summoned her, it was in front of his wives. He had Abney kneel on the open ground of his compound while the women sat on stools in the shade. He asked her questions about the bird as if she were a servant being questioned about stolen grain. What had the old woman said to her in the forest? What words were spoken? Was there a curse attached? Jelani's eldest wife laughed and said, "Even spirits find better homes than empty huts." The other wives laughed too. Abney did not answer. She fed the bird slowly, carefully, without rushing. When it had eaten its fill, she stood and turned to leave without being dismissed. Jelani's mouth opened to call her back. But then, so quietly it was almost missed, a single pale feather fell from the bird and drifted to the ground between them like a soft, silent judgment. That night Abney could not sleep. She lay in her hut listening to the village settle into its night sounds, children being called in from doorways, cooking fires being covered, dogs barking at nothing. She was thinking about the feather, about what the old woman had said. It will lay riches only where there is no greed. She was beginning to understand that the feather was not decoration. The feather was a warning. When the scratching came at her door just after midnight, she was not entirely surprised. The old woman sat outside on the ground, wrapped in the same wet wrapper she always seemed to wear. Her clouded eyes faced the stars. Abney sat beside her. "He will bleed the bird dry," Abney said. "He will try," the old woman agreed. "But a thing given by the forest cannot be stolen by a compound. It can only be wasted." Then she asked something that changed the air between them. "Tell me," she said quietly, "how did your husband die?" Abney said what she had always said. He was found at the bottom of the ravine east of the farms. They said he lost his footing in the dark. The old woman nodded very slowly. Then she said, "And who found him first?" Abney said, "Jelani." She had always known it. Jelani was the one who came to the village with the news. Jelani was the one who organized the burial. Jelani was the one who, within the first week of mourning, began speaking to the elders about the farmland. She had thought those things, separately, many times. But sitting beside the old woman in the dark, she heard them together for the first time. As one thing, not separate. "Ask no more questions yet," the old woman said. "The time for questions has a season." Then she left, and Abney sat alone in the dark with a thought pressing on her chest that was too big to let out and too heavy to swallow. Meanwhile, inside Jelani's compound, something was breaking. He had gone to a chief's family in the next village and offered his eldest son in marriage. Thanks for watching Tales by Arlise. Please follow and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave a comment below if you love this story and wants to see the next part.